Hello internet, welcome to the channel. My name's Frankie and in today's video I'm going to be building a gift or souvenir shop in Planet Zoo Console Edition, and what you can see me doing right here is I'm starting to sketch out the area that I want this shop to take up, and to do that I'm just using some basic floor pieces. I'm using the nice dark wood tiley plank, not tiles, plank pieces from the New World theme pack. Now, as I'm playing in franchise mode, that does mean that I've had to research the New World theme. Just get your mechanics to research the themes that you want to use so that you've got access to all your building pieces so that you can build as freely as possible, just like this. Now, you can see I've gone for a nice wide open space for this shop. I do want there to be quite a lot of space. I'm really going to go all in with this gift shop. And the way that you place a gift shop is by going into your facilities tab, going over to the guest facilities, and down the bottom you will have a modular souvenir shop. And you place that one tile and then you can place the expansion tiles all around it to make up the rest of the footprint of your shop. Full disclosure, I didn't know that's how that worked when I started building this. So the floor pieces that I put down already are kind of pointless. They're not actually needed. Instead, you have to use the modular shop pieces in order to build the floor. It's kind of a shame that you can't have a custom floor. I would have preferred it to be darker, but I don't mind light entirely. It's not too much of an issue. So I'm going to delete all of the flooring that I put down and replace it all with the souvenir shop expansion pieces. I do also need to make sure that the modular souvenir shop main piece is where the entrance is going to be, because it has a doormat which actually acts as the entrance for our guests. And as annoying as that appears to be to begin with, because you've got your checkout right there and a couple shelves, you don't actually need to keep those there, you can move them, so it's not too much of an issue. You just need to make sure that that large rectangular piece with the doormat is where your entrance is going to be. What you see me doing now is trying to figure out a little bit of a path. I have an idea for this gift shop, which is it's going to be part cafe as well. I want there to be is it Red Fox Coffee or is it just Fox Coffee? I'm not sure. The coffee shop in this game, I want there to be a little cafe, coffee shop kind of thing upstairs that you can go to and then look down into the gift shop from above. So I'm just trying to figure that out with the pathing. And the best way to get a floating platform, which is going to be needed to have our little cafe, is to align it to grid and then just build it in the air. And as you can see, I've got rounded edges on at the moment, but I'm going to turn those to squared edges so that we've got a nice rectangular platform that is floating up here that we can then build round as part of the building. Full disclosure, I do end up having to redo this, and the main reason for that is because it's not aligned to the exact same grid that the rest of the building is going to be made on. So it's actually just ever so slightly out of line with the rest of the building. It kind of pokes out, meaning the walls aren't flush with it. So if you build it, once you've started to place some of the walls in, it will be perfectly in line. Now, to start making this an actual building, I need to start adding some walls. And right in the doorway, I decide to add the stone doorway that you get from the East Asia theme pack. I really like the blocks in that kind of theme. As for the rest of the building materials, it's primarily going to be those dark wooden New World pieces, the ones that I tried to make the footprint for this place out of earlier. At the front, I want there to be some quite large windows so you can see straight into the building. So I'm going to use these square plank panels that are just big open spaces. Later on, I can fill those with glass and make them into nice windows. In order to break them up just a little bit more, because they are quite wide expanses of just open air, I want adding little bits makes it look a bit more busier. It just makes it look a bit more finished, I guess. It just looks a bit more realistic, I think. So to do that, I'm going to put some unpainted timber beams right in the center of these large frames, just to make it so that it's actually two tall windows rather than just one large square. It's going to be two rectangular windows per wall piece instead, which I think is going to look a little bit nicer. Next, I take a little look through the various doors that we've got available and end up picking a classic door from the classic theme pack and just whacking that over the top of that doorway that we've got. And when you're doing this, it's important that you do it on both sides, because Annoyingly, this building piece isn't double-sided, so what you can see right now is not reflected on the back. Instead, it is a flat, plain, grey piece on the back, just like there. You can see it there. So what you're going to do, place and, well, get your first door in place exactly where you want it, and then using the advanced move tools, you can go over to the ones where you twist it on an axis and do a 180 flip so that it's facing the other way. You can then use the advanced move tools again to just pull it into place and make sure it's exactly where you want it. And there you go, you've got it on both sides of the wall. I'm also going to add a couple lights either side of the door for this building as well. Something that I'm going to have to bear in mind when making this building is that unlike everything else that I build in this game, it's not outside. So we actually are going to need to use lights in order to make sure that it's not really dark and you can see the items that you're trying to buy. Now, to get the rest of the first story of this building up to that height, I'm going to use the stone brick wall pieces, the 1 meter pieces, and just run around the bottom of the wall. I do quite like when you have buildings that are made up of two separate different types of wall. I think it looks kind of cool to have a separation in texture and stuff. So I'm using the same wall piece that I used for the doorway, just for a bit of coherency. And then once I've got this bottom layer in place, I'm going to fill the remaining 3 meters using a 2 meter piece and a 1 meter piece of the dark wood New World pieces as well to match the window frames. It was at this point that the cafe kind of area became clear that it was overhanging, so I aligned it to the grid that I just created by building this house, which you can see right now. I can align it to that grid and start to build from there instead, meaning that it will fit perfectly within the boundaries of this building. And now it's time to move on to what is easily the best part of this process, and that is actually creating the shop. Now, this was a very busy and long process because I packed this shop full of items. I really filled it, and rather than just bore you with all the with talking over every single bit, I'm going to give you a brief summary of what I did, what decisions I made, and then I'm just going to pop this in time lapse because otherwise this the recorded footage for this stands at about 3 hours long. You don't want me to talk for 3 hours. I'm going to cut quite a bit of this stuff out. So, basic premise. I kind of put the 2 registers right at the back of the shop because that makes the most sense to me, that the registers, the place where you're going to be paying, is at the back. Wherever I have poster holders, I'm also going to have posters on the wall being displayed, whether that's the Planet Zoo souvenir posters or themed posters such as the ones from the East Asia or India pack. I am also going to have quite a few shelves of just plushies, mugs and puzzles, all the different items that are available for sale. I'm going to make sure that every corner is filled with corner shelves or various other bits and pieces. I'm also going to have a shelf that is dedicated to more indigenous kind of replicas, if you kind of get what I mean. That means that it's going to be some more authentic African pots and Indian bowls and stuff. I'm going to take props from the theme packs. Even though they can't actually be sold, they're going to be placed on the shelves looking like you can buy them, and that will make for an excellent decoration. I'm also going to be using quite a lot of props for wall decorations and stuff as well, and I even use some of the paper mache models that we just got from the Twilight pack to kind of look like massive toy animals, because they have things like the raccoon and the fox and the wombat, and they all look really cool, the kind of thing that you kind of would want to take home if you were a kid. So yeah, getting this to look authentic is just a matter of decorating it. When you go into a zoo gift shop, they are really busy. They have so much going on, so just don't be afraid to throw everything at it. Get as much stuff in here as possible. So I'm going to stop talking and let you just watch what I do for the rest of this build, but I will come back near the end to talk about some problems that came up and stuff, because believe me, there are some problems with the souvenir shop. All of you PC players probably already know that, but us on console are experiencing this for the first time. So yeah, I'll come back to talk about that and how we built the cafe area upstairs. When it came to building the cafe or coffee area upstairs, there was a bit of an issue with actually placing the shop and making sure that it was accessible by path and stuff. It was really quite annoying trying to figure this out. But how it ended up happening was deleting a corner section. The back left corner is where I wanted the shop. Delete that section of pathing, then place the counter for the coffee shop. I could then place a bit of flooring underneath. And I went for the lighter flooring, mainly because I wanted to use the dark planks, the New World theme pack stuff, but the way the planks run don't actually line up with how the pathing does. So that was just really frustrating. So I thought we'll just go for higher contrast and use the light wood instead. That way it makes sense. It should be made from something entirely different. If it's too similar, it just looks like you're trying to mimic it, but doing it badly. So I went for quite a high contrast instead. As you can see, there is this kind of, a railing, yep, for the raised path that sticks right out. And even if I had railings turned off, there would still be a curb here, which is really annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask it using a few building pieces. I'm going to be using some of these light wooden plank pieces from the New World theme to match the flooring that we've just added. Ultimately, I'm going to make the kind of coffee booth area made entirely out of this type of wood. All I'm going to do is make a section that covers this railing using that wood, kind of like a counter almost. If we had little options for syrup bottles and stuff, you can place them along there. That's where you could get your coffee sweetener and sugar and milk and stuff if you wanted to add those to your drinks. That would be a good area to place them. And I'm kind of annoyed that I'm only thinking of this now because I kind of want to dive back in and see if there are any props that I could kind of use to suggest that kind of thing. I think I'll do that in the future. If I can find anything, I would definitely try and add those to this counter area. But yeah, all I'm doing here is trying to mask that railing with the building pieces. And to finish off this little cover-up area, we're just going to pop a bin at the end because it makes complete sense. You often have a bin or something near where your sugar packets and all that are going to be used. So yeah. The seating up here is really going to be nothing fancy whatsoever. I'm just going to use the Planet Zoo picnic benches, have them quite evenly spaced out across the platform. We're going to go with 4 because that allows enough space in between each one. And to be honest, I don't think people are actually going to set up here. It's just a nice idea if they want to. With the basic shape of the coffee area done, we can start to finish off this building with other building pieces to make the walls actual functioning walls. Now, some of these are going to be made of glass and some of them are going to be just straight up timber. And the way I decided on which was going to be which was, initially I wanted it to have quite a few windows. But by the end of it, I decided I was just going to use the windows that were at the front of the shop, run those all the way up to the ceiling, have those be quite tall, quite high, and then we're just going to have a viewing area at the back of the coffee shop as well. So whilst you're up there, you can look out over to the African area, you can start to see what's over there, and who knows, there's quite a lot of empty space behind the shop, so maybe I'll add a habitat down there because there is quite a bit of space. It would be a shame to make it go to waste. Now I'm going to close in the area where the coffee shop actually is because at the moment it's just a table. We don't want that. We want it to actually look like a shop front. It was at this point that I realised the counter was a bit too far back, so I'm just going to bring it forward so that it matches up with the grid and fits in this window nicely. It's quite easy to do. It's not a problem at all. I also decided at this stage that I wanted to get rid of those barriers, the kind of hand railing that is on these raised path areas. I want to get rid of those so that I can add my own railing that can be looking over the shop. It just, I don't know, it looks a bit too inconsistent for me because at the corners, some of the supporting poles and stuff that hold the main railing up disappear, and then you just got these really long open areas, and I wanted to kind of mask that. And the barrier that I do end up using is a fence piece from the decoration tab, and all it is the New World fence number 1, I think. It's 2 meters long. I just use that to bridge the whole area, make sure that none of our guests are going to be jumping off and landing down in the gift shop, because that wouldn't be ideal, would it? At the end I need to do a couple of adjustments to make sure that it fits, and annoyingly there's this awkward space. The gap just is it's not big enough to fit in a whole 2 meter piece, but then it is too big for a 1 meter piece to fill it. So what I end up doing is using an African plank thing. I think it's a part of a fence. This lovely wooden piece with white stripes on it, and I add one of those to either end, which act as kind of a fence post that these fence pieces are actually built into, and it ends up looking quite nice. As most of this building has been either Planet Zoo theme or New World theme, I decide to add a couple of the New World animal signs on the wall. I go for the pronghorn antelope, the American bison, and the timber wolf. There was also one for a bear, but I actually have these 3 animals in the zoo, so I thought I'd only use those 3 as we don't have a bear. Well, we have a panda bear, but that's completely different. So yeah, that adds just a little bit more character to the upstairs area that's looking a little bland at the moment. Next, I continue to add the wall pieces like I said earlier, extending the windows at the front, making sure they match the bottom. And in order to make sure they match, I do also add those unpainted East Asia themed beams to break up the windows a little bit, rather than having large expansive pieces of glass. They're going to be broken up a little bit into smaller chunks, which looks a little bit nicer in my opinion. For filling the windows in with glass, all I actually use is glass pieces from the building tab. They count as wall pieces. This is the glass modern wall panel, which is 4 meters across. It's going to fit this frame perfectly. I'm just going to fill every frame with that to make sure that it's not, well, if it rains or something, the shop will get flooded at the moment. We actually do need glass in here. So yeah, I'm just going to add those to all of the windows. For the roof, I create 2 very simple gables using the slate roof 2 meter incline pieces. And the reason I'm using the slate roof pieces is because I've used those at the entrance of the zoo as well, and on the bat house, so it's just a bit of consistency. In terms of our buildings, we have been mixing it up quite a lot. The building materials have changed quite a bit, so I thought maybe having the same roof would be beneficial, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I use to create the rest of the roof. It really is nothing fancy, just a simple shape that we can then fill in all the gaps with the dark wood New World pieces that we've used to build the rest of the house. For the outside areas, I keep it really quite simple. All I use is various sized date palms, some Nitraria retusa bushes, I probably screwed up the pronunciation of that, but some dry looking bushes, and a bunch of dry green grass. And I think that this area ends up looking quite Jurassic Park-like, which I'm a big fan of. And I kind of like this aesthetic and want to use it a bit more. But for now, it's going to be limited to this specific area. And at this point, the shop was done. However, we were encountering some problems. And that is, if you come out of the game and then come back into it, your guests are, for some reason, stuck in there. They're just jumping up and down like they're... like the path has been cut off. They look like they're having an indoor rave, which is kind of fun. But that's not what we want. We want them to be able to walk about. We want people to actually be able to buy in the shop. So the fix that I found for that was actually to highlight the whole building, delete it, wait for the guests to disappear, and then just press the undo button so that everything's put back. And that sorted that out. But there was also the issue of vendors not being able to get into the shop. For some reason, they'd walk up to the door and then it would come up saying that they were lost and they just could not enter the shop. They would stay there for ages, kind of just walking on the spot, not being able to move. And I played about with loads of different things in order to fix this. I replaced the fake doorway with an actual open one because I wasn't sure if that was stopping people getting in, but it wasn't that. I even deleted the modular shop piece, the original entrance, deleted that, put it back. That didn't do anything either. But the fix that I eventually came to was the little counters, the checkout area for the souvenir shop. I deleted those and then manually placed them back, and for some reason the vendors were then able to register it, walk up to it and use it. So each time that I open the zoo, that might be an issue. It might be an issue that the vendors get lost, and in order to fix that, all I'm going to have to do is to delete the counter and put it back straight away. That should fix it for you. It's very annoying, and hopefully Frontier figure out a way of fixing the few bugs that the gift shops still have. Hopefully they figure out a way to sort those out soon, but after having figured that out, I'm fairly comfortable with saying that this place is done. thank you so much for having watched this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this in your subscription feed. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.